Hey everybody, it's Eric from Supportive Venture. And in this video, I'm going to tell you the top 3 problems that small MSP owners face. I'm talking about the people who have about, less than 10 technicians on their help desk or less than 10 staff in total, and companies that started, from the ground up, fixing computers, and they get to a certain stage of their growth and they kind of get thrown a curveball, as one of the clients I was speaking to said. It's a curveball because they reach a certain amount of success, a certain amount of growth, and it's really exciting. But then their lives essentially become very complicated and stressful because of these sorts of problems that are arising again and again and again. So this is in response to an email from Dimitri, who's one of our technicians who works the night shift. So from about 6 or 7 p.m. Eastern time in the US, he works a shift, which is overnight for Europe as well. And he's based in Vietnam, and he's from Canada and Kazakhstan. And he sent me some interesting questions here for, he's developing an offering for MSP owners, which is, business coaching and stuff like that. So I had previously destroyed apparently one of his ideas, which was a KPI app for MSPs, because I basically told him in a video like this that that's not going to really work because, you can make as many apps as you want, but unless the MSP has a good culture of following best practices in terms of staff, standard operating procedures, and all that stuff, it's not going to work. Nobody's going to follow it. So it's like, if you have a weight loss app, it's not going to obliterate obesity if people keep on stuffing, dozens of donuts into their mouth. So here we go. Basically, I've broken this down into 3 different categories here. 1, the lack of proper foundation. So that's the main problem here, and both of the other problems lead into that. Number 2, no clear strategy on how to get good clients on the good types of contracts. And number 3, the lack of a holistic operational strategy. So if you look at an MSP and the way that they tend to grow and the way that they tend to get to this stage of 5 to 10 technicians, or 3 to 10, let's say, usually starts with a guy like me. Me personally, when I was 16 years old, I started putting up signs around my neighborhood in Toronto, Canada, which said "Computer Genius for Hire," because I just happened to be that whiz kid who could figure anything out, and people needed that skill set because it was 1999, and well, people had just gotten computers in the home, in the offices, and nobody knew what to do with them, nor had any idea what could be done when it broke. And suddenly, since I'd been using computers since I was 11 years old at home, and before that in school, I had a knack for it. And I built my business like that. Computer Genius for Hire. You call me, I come, put out your fire, fix your problem, all that stuff. Now, the problem is most MSPs build their business on that sort of intelligence, that sort of personality, and those sorts of tactics of break fix, even if they profess to be so proactive in the way that they're dealing with their issues and your issues and the maintenance of their clients. And usually it's not the case. Usually they are just firefighters in a lot of cases, especially at the 5 to 10 technician MSP help desk level, because they're still in scarcity. They still haven't built the business that they feel confident in a lot of cases, and they still haven't gone to the stage where they, you know, can take a lean back. So typically, the owner is a firefighter. Any manager he's hired is a firefighter managing a group of firefighters. And the sort of basic thing that they do is hire intelligent people that are as intelligent as they are or look like they could be, based on exposure or mentoring and stuff like that. And they basically just hire a bunch of people, keep on adding people with overlapping weaknesses. Why do they do this? Because they have fire after fire and they need more firefighters. But they don't ever look at, well, if this stuff was better designed, in the first place, we would have less fires, Fire safety, structural engineering, all that stuff is not something that comes in most MSPs that have, less than 10 technicians. That sort of thinking, yeah, it just doesn't factor in because that's not how the business started. That's not how the people built the business, and that's not what their success is based on. Their success is, give me a problem, I fix it. Lots of us are really great at that, but it doesn't really help you get past 5 technicians. It doesn't really help you get to 10, 15, 20, 30 technicians. So let's look at where the main problem is here. The main problem here is structure, plain and simple. If you study business, you'll likely hear about things like brand identity, business plans, marketing plans, financial projections. And this might sound like a bunch of nonsense if you built your own MSP from the ground up. But I assure you, none of these things are nonsense at all. And were you to take a step back from your company and reassess these sorts of things and the meaning that they have, you would really have a much better MSP very quickly if you started, reassessing the foundation of your business, basically. So let's talk about brand identity. What is a brand identity? It is essentially the consistency of what your company does. So, and the identity. If your company was a human being, what attributes would your company have? Would it be dependable? I hope so. Would it be responsive? Would it be, compassionate, understanding, all this sort of stuff? And when defining a brand identity, you also look at things like, am I a low cost, middle of the road, or premium service? Very important, because the expectation that you build with the clients is based on this. And I'd say that most MSPs approach this in a very middle of the road way. And we'll talk about why later. That's number 2, no clear strategy of how to get good clients and good deals. So brand identity, you start with this sort of core of what your business is supposed to be as an entity and what it's supposed to do consistently for its clients. What's your promise to the clients? Is it great service or is it low cost? If it's low cost and great service, there's always the triangle in business where they say there's good, cheap, and fast, and you can only pick 2 of them. And something is either going to be good and cheap, but it's not going to be fast, or it's going to be fast and good, but it's not going to be cheap. You need to define which one yours is going to be. Pick 2 of good, cheap, and fast. And what do you want to be? Because it's really hard to do all 3 of them at the same time. So brand identity, you need to define where you are on the pricing and what you want to promise consistently, not just to your clients, but to your staff. Do you want to provide an environment where they're just an employee and you're trying to hire the cheapest people and make them work the longest number of hours and crush the highest number of tickets? Or are you going to be focused on actually reducing the amount of tickets and focusing on building a solid foundation of documentation, stuff like that, proactive maintenance, so your clients don't have to call you, so that you don't have to have technicians like constantly solving the same tickets over and over again because nobody's, moving to solve the underlying issues, because that's just not how the business runs. So what's the brand focused on? Is it focused on structure or is it focused on firefighting? If you're focused on fighting, then you want to run a break fix shop. It will be much more profitable because, a client calls up, you're billing them by the hour. You don't want to solve the underlying issue because then they'll stop calling. But if you're following a real MSP model, you want to actually reduce the number of tickets and put it in a structure that will help, help your clients achieve their technological goals with the least amount of hassle. That would be a really good thing to put in a brand identity. And it would be a very good thing to put in a business plan. Now, a business plan, what you are essentially doing with a business plan is you are taking the ideas you have about your business and you're challenging yourself to filter that through into an actual structured document that puts into concise language, all of the ideas that you had about your business. So the brand identity, can be a separate document, or it can be, a section of a business plan. But in the business plan, you want to assess your strengths, your weaknesses, your vision, the different sort of like things that the business does, the competition that you have on the market, where you fit, and all that stuff, and how are you going to market your business, and where you really see the thing going. And just by writing that down on a paper, rather than just having it float around in a mess of unorganized ideas in your head, as it often does when you're running a small business, well, it's going to be so much better. And, when I was starting Supportive Venture, I was lucky enough to find a mentor who helped me write a business plan for this business and put into writing. And, it doesn't have to be to get investment. It can just be for yourself to see what you are actually trying to build, and something to refer to later. You should update it every 6 to 9 months. Go back and say, does this still apply? If you were, really poignant the last time you wrote it, it might just take 45 minutes to go through the business plan and say, check, 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 check. That's still us. That's still what we're doing, and tweak as necessary. So yeah, a marketing plan. I mean, in order to be successful in a competitive industry like MSP work, you have to be able to have well-defined ways of getting new business leads and stuff like that. And financial projections. It's good to know what's going to happen if you sign the next 10 deals. How many staff you're going to need, how much it's going to cost you, and what's that going to mean in terms of turnover, gross and net profits, and and what budget you're going to allocate where on marketing and all that stuff. So financial projections. So brand identity, business plan, marketing plan, financial projections. These are 4 things that you need to do. And what's the emotional? Dimitri was asking me some questions in his email about what are the and okay, so his question was, are these problems business critical or simply an inconvenience? So, not having a business plan, marketing plan, brand identity, financial projections, if you want to run a small shop forever, then not having these things, it's really just a little inconvenience, because you'll just keep on putting out fires. You'll keep on making money. You'll feel burnt out after a few years. Your business won't really be going anywhere, but you'll still have food on the table. But if you actually have a vision that you want to execute that involves going beyond, like, enough people who can fit in a room, like 5 people, as the, like, as a plan, as a vision, if you want to execute that, the time is now. It is business critical to put this in writing, what your vision is, and to look at the financial projections, to look at the brand identity, and make sure that the way that you're presenting your marketing, the way that you're presenting your promises, your contracts to the clients, your sales presentations, is all congruent with the idea of what is my business as an entity, and what's it consistently providing to people. Otherwise, you're probably running a personality-based business where people will get anchored on your personality and the personalities of the people you hire, and you're not really going to build something that's scalable at all. So I mean, it's like the emotional aspect of this is the next question. What is the most frustrating aspect of this? Is that you've built a personality-based business and your clients are always emailing you, and the bigger you get, the more your life becomes unsatisfying as a entrepreneur, because you haven't put in place any structure for this. And it's frustrating because, you thought you were going to be happy when your business hit, 1 million recurring revenue, annual revenue every year. You thought you would be happy when you hit 1 million, but you actually realized that you were happier when it was just you and you were turning over 200,000. And yeah, pretty frustrating, right? So the time is now to put structure in. If you're a small MSP, you can book a call with me about this, and I'll help you do that. I'm a consultant on this stuff, as you can see from the information in this video. Number 2, no clear strategy of how to get good clients on good deals. This is all intertwined with the proper foundation that you've set, the brand identity, which I mentioned in the previous section. Right. So you want good clients, you want them on good deals. You don't have a marketing plan on how to get those good clients. You'll just, go to whatever meetups, business clubs, do whatever direct leaflets, marketing, word of mouth, whatever. They'll come in and you're still in scarcity mode as a small MSP. You want to sign that next deal and you're literally going to sign up anybody on anything, right? You need that work. You need to grow your MSP. You're on this journey. It needs to grow, or else, what's the point? If you're not going up, you're going down. So you get a lead and you're pretty much signing up any client who comes through the door, and you're signing them up with any technology they might happen to own previously. And you're signing them up at any price. So you're getting random clients with random technologies, with random deals that they're lowballing you, and trying to make you compete on price with the other MSPs in the region. And you might not have, as we discussed, you probably don't have a cohesive brand identity that sets you apart from the rest of the MSPs. So you want the business at the end of the day. You sign up clients that have still running line of business applications from 1997 that pop up an error message when they started on Windows 10 that says error, cannot find Excel 97, that they've become so used to just pressing OK and going into the program and hobbling along. And you get calls about this program every single day because you didn't have the courage to go in and say, listen, we are a premium brand. We'll sort you out, but you have to drop this product from 97. You've got to get on new stuff. This is what we recommend. This is the new firewall you have to buy. This is the new cloud-based server that we want to put your data on. And these are the systems we're going to implement to get everything working really well. No, you're like, hey, can I get $500 a month off you guys to, take care of your 3 workstations that are way out of date and running slow all the time and are running software that has no business running in business in, the 2020s? Like, yeah. So there's no clear strategy here. You're still in scarcity and you're signing up clients, and thus you're probably not even onboarding them with any sort of structure. It's like, hey, we signed a deal, all right, here's the help desk email, and they email in, your techs get the tickets, and there's like no documentation because the previous IT company, which was even more disorganized than you guys, it was like the 1 or 2 tech smaller operation than you guys, and they thought that when they met you that you were going to be much better organized, but you're only a little bit better organized, and you end up not onboarding them properly. Your documentation might be in SharePoint or Google Docs with random things scribbled on a random page. We've all been there. But there comes a time that you need to start getting good clients on good deals where they're willing to actually trust you as an expert and take your recommendations rather than just like make a deal so that they can call and get through to your tech. You've promised them that someone will answer the phone and help them immediately with whatever ridiculous problem they might have at any time. And so you build that expectation, and operationally, it's very hard to fulfill the deals that you sign. But hey, you're the owner of the business. The help desk is the help desk, or you're the sales exec, and you make them sign on the dotted line. Success, right? Not really looking at the whole sort of idea of what you are as a brand. As I said, it goes back to the first one, the lack of a proper foundation. Why why do you want to have a business? What do you want to provide other businesses? Why do you want to have staff? What kind of environment do you want your staff working in? And this will be reflected in the deals that you have and the way that you sign companies up. So I mean, the best MSPs with the best deals that I've seen, they focus on proactive maintenance. They focus on standardization of stack among the different clients. Every client should have the same type of equipment. Every client should have as close as possible the similar software running, and every client should be onboarded in the same way with the documentation culture that makes sure that your people have all the information they need about the client always, or 95% of the time. So the noise on your operations then will go down. So this takes us to number three. Number three is the lack of a holistic operational strategy for how to fulfill projects, help desk, all that stuff. Because and it goes back to number one and two. Basically, the lack of a holistic operational strategy is it's the biggest problem, because this is where you will get burnout. You'll have trouble retaining staff, and your business is essentially like, rather than being a well-built house with a foundation and a healthy kitchen, well-stocked kitchen where everybody can get the food that they need to do their job and stuff like that, you're basically firefighting because you don't really have the foundation of the brand, what you're providing to the clients. You have no clear strategy on how to get the good clients and get them onboarded with good deals, with a good onboarding, so that most of the problems can be solved. And so you essentially have set your team up to fail at building something that will be consistent for your staff and your clients. So what you want is to focus on that foundation, focus on the sales, the deals, the marketing, so that you can then have a service desk that runs in a really operationally sound way. So what does this mean? I mean, it means basically like you started your help desk probably as the computer genius, as was me, before I decided to move to Europe and work remotely for MSPs, and then became a consultant for MSPs and a staffing company for MSPs. Like, I was that guy. I always tried to find guys who were as smart as me to send out to clients, and when I was in Europe, visit on site and all that stuff. I tried. The guys were never me, so that was a problem, because I hadn't built a brand that was about anything else but my own ego and my own personality. And the guys I got, some of them could solve computer problems. Some of them the ones who could solve computer problems were usually pretty bad at showing up and documenting what they did. And, the ones who were good at showing up and following the directions I gave them were not the most brilliant at solving the problem. So either way, I had to do a bunch of hand holding and babysitting. And the whole thing was a reflection on who I was at the time and who I was bringing in. And so who you are as a MSP owner that has, less than 5 or 10 technicians is probably similar to where I was, and you were trying your best to get people who could do what you were doing, but they were never you, and you just pile on. Certainly I was hiring people full part-time when I had my own business in Toronto, and that was a big flaw. You'll always get better results if you hire people full-time, pay them enough money to live, and then you can expect loyalty and 40 hours a week of them getting better at their job and refining things. But if you don't give them the structure, if you don't give them clear expectations of how they're supposed to operate and what their job entails and the checklist of what they have to do, then you can expect that that the personal eccentricities and deficiencies of the people that you hire will be actually a lot more of a factor, because if you don't give them a clear outline of how to write ticket notes on your ticketing system, then the guys are going to write ticket notes when and how they feel like. So like, it's a mess usually if you don't give them a list of statuses on how to categorize the tickets and all that stuff, where it's at and all that stuff. They'll just use whatever they feel like, whatever. They might leave it as new until it's completed. You'll see new and completed. There will never be any waiting statuses in progress or scheduled or anything like that. If you don't give them, expectation of how to log time in your system and how much time is an acceptable amount of time to log on the system, then they won't actually be able to know that, and they won't be able to follow that, and they might not even submit a timesheet at all or log any time at all, or maybe it's 2 hours a day. And yes, you're only logging 2 hours a day. Yeah, but I'm sitting here working all day. They'll say, but since you haven't given them the bar, the goal post of what they're supposed to be doing, you'll just have people doing whatever they want whenever they want. If you don't give them an escalation policy, don't be surprised if all of the information is just being randomly spit around a chat room where sometimes a technician that can't solve an issue because of lack of documentation gets an immediate answer. Sometimes it takes 3 days to get that answer. And going back to brand identity and consistency, you're not going to give very consistent service to your clients at all. So the lack of a holistic operational strategy and any sort of documentation and operating procedures on how the help desk works is going to be your biggest weakness. And you're probably going to hire people with overlapping weaknesses as you in very undefined roles with very undefined ways of interacting with each other and communicating and documenting. And your clients might like you and the dudes that you've hired and the people in admin and all of your whole team. They might like you as a person, and that's something which is very important, to be likable as a person. But I feel that a lot of small business owners, because they build their business on their personality rather than their brand that's going to provide excellent service, the fact that they're likable as business owners and they have relationships with their clients that are personal, actually, it allows them to give really shoddy, bad, inconsistent service. Having the phone lines open to clients to call in and reach a technician directly, for example, because of your inconsistent service, you'll be training your clients that if they make a lot of noise and call you up incessantly, they will get results. And if they just email in a ticket and one of your techs gets it assigned to them and then forgets about it for a week, then they're going to just probably that ticket will get lost, and it'll be 2 weeks before you hear back on it. And this is like the number one problem with the number one MSP worst practice is having technicians answer the phone and help people immediately if they're also working on other tickets at the same time. And the way that you get there is by having such a disorganized service desk with no sort of like accountability for the techs to actually complete and document the tickets that are assigned to them. And so people just start calling your help desk, and the techs are told they have to answer the phone. It's really annoying for them. They get stressed out, but they pick up the phone, someone's saying, "Hello, can you help me?" And they say, "Yes, I can." And they do it right then and there. What's the solution to all of this? Okay. You need a system, either through automation of workflow rules or anything that keeps the techs in line. Make sure when they have a ticket assigned to them that they're both moving that ticket along, looking at it, every day or every second day, and making sure that their notes on it are properly done. And you need to you can automate this stuff if you're small and receive the alerts as a manager. And, if you're a team of 5, yeah, maybe you don't have a dispatcher. But if you're a team of more than 5, what we need to do is put in place procedures and a role that moves along those procedures and enforces those procedures. And that person is a service coordinator or dispatch. It's not a management role, it's a supervisor role. And what they're going to do is a dispatcher will have a list of stuff that they need to do every day, like look at every ticket on every tech and make sure that next steps are either scheduled or defined, or, there's like waiting for status, or, that tells you where the ticket is at. And if there's any ticket that is assigned to any tech that doesn't have either next steps or waiting for or like then that needs to be like flagged with the tech and say, hey, your notes on this ticket are not good enough. We don't know what's happening with this ticket. It's assigned to you. Do you need to escalate? Do you need me to take this off of you and assign it to someone who can? Can you fix this ticket? And if you can, put notes on that indicate how you're going to do it and when. That's it. And if it's waiting for client, there can be like workflow rules and ConnectWise and auto tasks that if the ticket is in waiting status, waiting for client for 3 days, they get an email every day saying, hey, we want to solve this. And the third day, it's, the email says, we're going to close this ticket. Feel free to contact us about this issue at any time. But since we haven't heard from you, we're going to close this ticket. And so you're going to keep your service desk lean. You're going to have somebody always looking at the techs, their timesheets, their ticket queues, and all this stuff. And if you don't have this, it's going to be very painful to get past 5 technicians as you sign deals. And hopefully you're going to sign better deals with better clients, with better technologies. And as I said in point number 2, so, I mean, the operational stuff, are these problems business critical or simply an inconvenience? Yes, they are business critical. It is business critical that when somebody puts a service desk ticket in your help desk, that they get that looked out at and the ticket gets closed. That's the core of your business, essentially, in most cases. The projects and stuff like that help set up the clients, make you a bunch of money setting that stuff up. But come on, someone calls you for help. If you do not help them, if they don't get help in a reasonable amount of time, their opinion of your service is going to go down. They might like the fact that they can call up the line any time, and Jimmy, who's a charming young tech, will pick up the phone and help them immediately just because they made noise. But that's no way to run a business. Have a dispatcher pick up and make more consistency, because Jimmy, the tech, might be, stressed out sometimes because he's working on 7 different tickets at the same time because the phone won't stop ringing that day. And, client, yeah. But if it's a dispatcher following a procedure of how to create a ticket and reminding the people that they can email a ticket in, yeah, then they'll get a consistent experience, and that can be part of your brand. And they can, find the most talented tech to handle things immediately when they really are urgent. And it's not just somebody crying wolf by calling the help desk, because they know that's the best way to get someone to actually look at their ticket, because otherwise the MSP is so disorganized that it's just going to end up on some random text queue with the tech forgetting about it and nobody holding the techs accountable for, looking at the tickets that are on their queue. So it's like, what's the most frustrating aspect? I guess the most frustrating aspect is you built your business, it's growing. What you did so far, hiring other techs, having them also work on problems, and you want to focus on sales, and you can't do that because literally blong, emails are coming in all day. People are not happy. Balls are being dropped. You've got complaints. You haven't delegated a dispatcher to make sure the clients are receiving consistent service. You haven't delegated a service desk manager to oversee that dispatcher and the processes that they are enacting to ensure that consistency of service, and taking the complaints and escalations that are resulting from either the deficiencies in those processes that you have set up, or the fact that techs aren't following it. And a service desk manager needs to take those complaints and make the techs get in line. And so essentially you're a small MSP owner and you're doing all of this, and that you have what it takes to sign new clients. You've got leads, even you've got clients who you aren't closing because you're showing up to the sales meetings really low energy because you've worked 18 hours the day before, putting out fires from the lack of structure that you have. And it's really frustrating because you're burnt out, aren't you? And why is it frustrating? Because it could work so much better if everybody that you hired was a clone of you. Then probably everybody would be you wouldn't have any complaints because everybody would give as good service as you. And these guys that you hire just don't get it. They don't have common sense, because you assume that the way that you think is the way that everybody in the world should think, but realize the fact you wouldn't have an MSP business if everybody thought like you and could fix their own computers. And if everybody was as smart as you at running an IT business and helping the clients, then they'd probably be running their own IT business. And so you want to hire people, you want to give them roles that and systems they can and procedures they could run those roles with, that are the result of your careful planning and intelligence that you put in the system. So you're designing it to provide a consistent result. You need to hold them accountable for following those systems that you design, and you need to add layers of management and supervision that essentially keep that system running, so that you can work on the business, not in the business. But the most frustrating thing is you don't really see a way out. The foundation of your house is like sticks on the ground holding up, a tent. You don't even have those poles for the tent that are, built for the tent. You're taking twigs off trees and trying to hold up your tent like that. Whereas what you should have done right from the beginning is built like a foundation, and then found clients that resonated with that foundation, that brand, that business plan, that premium level service that you wanted to give. And then you should have built a holistic operational strategy with clearly defined roles and outcomes and workflow rules and standard operating procedures that ensured that your clients consistently got a service that was congruent with the brand that you defined and the deal that you sold them, the promises you made them in the sales stage. And you should have done all that. And here you are working, 14 to 16 hours a day, working on the weekend. Your personal life is taking a toll. And what's it all for? You want to build a business. Here you are, you're quote unquote successful. You reach maybe $1 million a year annual recurring revenue, but you're not happy because, well, think about it. You can't focus on anything for as long as you've seen me focus on creating this video for you. So if you need help, let's talk. I can consult on this stuff. I can help you put in a foundation. I've got a team of people who can do that. And basically, the future will be brighter if you stop looking from the ground up and building your business and look the top down. Look from the top down on what you want to build, what that is going to do for you as a business owner, what that's going to do for your clients, what that is going to do for the people you hire, and how it's all going to look and how it's all going to run itself, because you've used your intelligence to build something rather than put out fires on, stuff that was built randomly in a ramshackle sort of like winging it way. So thanks a lot for watching. My name is Eric from Supportive Venture, and I hope you enjoyed this. Bye, guys.